from this trailer.
Let's see.
You're not mentioning none of this. None of it. None of it's getting mentioned. You're just mentioning your trailer. If you do see right, you could do C in less than 4 minutes.
What?
If you do see right,
okay.
you can knock it out in 4 minutes.
Okay.
Here we go. First thing you're gonna do. Let's examine it. The nose of my trailer, or the bulkhead of my trailer, whatever you want to call it. It's probably mounted and secured. Now crack, damage, and loose. There's no holes, and it's able to hold the load that's in this trailer. The rivets on my trailer, on the front of my trailer, here's where we talk about combining everything. The rivets on my trailer, on the front of my trailer, and the rivets from the front of my trailer down the full side of my trailer to the back are all properly mounted and secured. Now crack, damage, and loose. No rivets are missing.
Let me ask you a question. What if I forgot and I just said the button's over here?
You could say buttons, just let me know how that works out.
I will forget things.
Rivets, all right, so we did the rivets. Like I said, combining everything, front and rear. So you don't have to mention them again when you're over.
You can't say the front of my trailer is properly mounted.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Front of my trailer, the nose of my trailer, the bulkhead of my trailer, it all means the same thing. So whatever's easier for you. Whatever easy to remember. Just examine it. The apron. All the apron is the underneath and front of the The apron of my trailer is probably mounted and secured. And crack down is loose. And no broken railings. Right? The reason why they say that is because the front of that trailer is a separate part of it. It's welded. No. Apron. All right. Let's examine it. There's no daylight in between my fifth wheel and the apron of my trailer, which means that trailer is sitting flush and secure, 100%. It's flush and down on that fifth wheel like it should. All right, come over here. Just examine it. My marker light up there is probably mounted and secured. Now crack, damage, and loose. The proper color yellow, amber, or yellow, whatever you want to say. Just examine it. I have at least 50% red and white clean DOT tape from the front of my trailer all the way down to the back. All right, from here. Stop just before you're landing. My frame is probably mounted and secured. Now crack, damaged, loose. The floor of my trailer, just the floor, is probably mounted and secured. Now crack, damaged, and loose, and there are no holes. The cross members of my trailer, which are right here. The cross members of my trailer, from the front of my trailer to the back of my trailer, probably mounted and secured. Now crack, damaged, and loose, and there's no signs of twisting. My landing gear, or K-frame, whatever you want to call it, it's probably mounted and secured. Now crack, damage, and loose. My feet, or pads, whatever you want to call them, are at the proper height from the ground. My landing gear handle is properly mounted and secured. Now crack, damage, and loose, and it's in the locked position. All right, so once you finish this, your next stop is that light right over there. My marker light, four-way indicator, and signal light is probably mounted and secured. Now crack, damaged, and loose is the proper color amber. As soon as you mention this, underneath the trailer. And now we're going to talk about this wheel right here. All right. Let's examine my lines. These are the same lines coming out of the back of the tractor supplying the trailer air tank. That's all they are. But you got to mention. Let's examine my lines. Airline and electric lines are not hanging dangerously low to the ground. Right? From there, you go right here. My tandem release, this is why we're going to do another trailer because there's a different setup on the other trailers. I'm just examining my tandem release button. It's probably mounted and secured. Now crack, damaged, or loose and not leaking. My tandem release button lines, probably mounted and secured. No abrasions, bulges, and cuts, and they're not leaking. All right? From here, you go right to this bar under here. I-beam. My I-beam. This is what it looks like. If you can't see it, it looks just like this. All right? My I-beam is probably mounted and secured. Now crack, damaged, and loose. So for this suspension, you have your I-beam. Next, we're going to go right to the shock absorber. It's probably mounted and secured. Now crack, damaged, or loose, and not leaking. My airbag is probably mounted and secured. No abrasions, bulges, or cuts, and not leaking. My airbag mounts are probably mounted and secured. Now crack, damaged, or loose. My double band brake chamber is probably mounted and secured. Now crack, damaged, or loose, and not leaking. Behind my brake chamber, Mr. Examiner, I have a push rod, a slack adjuster with my cotter pin. Put it all together. Properly mounted and secured. Now crack dampers are loose. You're done. My brake lines are properly mounted and secured. No abrasions, bulges, or cuts, and no leaks. From there, you go right into your brake shoe or brake liner. It's properly mounted and secured. Now crack dampers are loose, no less than 1/4 of an inch. There's no oil, there's no grease. My brake drum is properly mounted and secured. Now crack dampers are loose. There's no oil, there's no grease, and there's no signs of excessive heat. My rim for my inside tire is properly mounted and secured. Now crack dampers are loose with no illegal welds. All right? From there, we out. Yeah, no shit.
Let me ask you a question. So what if you were to say, I'll do a SIM inspection for all tires?
Say that again? Yeah.
If you were to say, I'll do the SIM inspection for all tires.
If you were to say that to him,
Yeah, because you just put the front. You gotta do the back separate.
gotta do the back separate. Yes, everything got to be separate. I see what you're saying. I definitely see what you're saying, but I want to see you do one thing on this test. From straight line to your road test. The last thing they want to see is robots. Meaning, all you did is either learn the video, you don't know where anything is, or read the book. They want to see you physically pointing at everything. A couple of students went online week 4, and they bought these. You could buy these for like 95 cents. And they bought a bunch of them just to start pointing shit out. Because you don't want to get your ass dirty until your truck's in filth. The last thing they want to see is robot. They want to make sure.
Oh, you got them on Amazon?
You know what you're putting in. Exactly. Yeah, they got a bag of them for dirt cheap.
Let me know how much they is.
Yeah, they're cheap. All right, so we did the tire, we did the inside rim. Again with the double tires. Let's examine it. The inside sidewall of both my tires is probably mounted and secured. No abrasions, bulges, or cuts, no leaks. The outside sidewall of both my tires is probably mounted and secured. No abrasions, bulges, or cuts, and no leaks. Both these tires should be at least 232 tread depth, and they can be recast. The butt spacing in between my tires is probably mounted and secured. That crack dampers are loose. There's no daylight, and they're free and approved. You're not going to mention this, guys? This is a hubometer. This is a rental trailer. So the owner of this trailer, whoever that may be, just wants to keep the mileage. Wants to know the mileage on the trailer. So this just gives the mileage on the trailer. That's all it does. So when you're going down the road, it's counting mileage, right? It differs, obviously, from the tractor. Mr. Examiner, my rim with my factory holes is probably mounted and secured. Now crack dampers are loose. No illegal welds. My valve stem is probably mounted and secured. Now crack dampers are loose. It's not leaking. Should have a metal cap. If it didn't, I'd note it on my DVIR. It's connected. What's that? Now these connectors, I'm telling you, see, I don't know what it is. Oh, they're on the road. If you have these, what this is a regulator. So if you lose air in this tire, that regulator takes air out of this tire and puts it back in that tire. Balances it out. Right. Okay. So he ain't gonna ask you about that. But what you're gonna do, just go to, we already mentioned that. You good? You're not gonna mention this. My axle seal is probably mounted and secured. My crack dampers are loose, no leaks. Mr. Examiner, my lug nuts are all present, probably mounted and secured. My crack dampers are loose. There's no signs of rust, which would indicate a loose lug nut, and there's no signs of shiny thread, which would indicate a cross thread of it. All right? From here, once you do this, mud flap. Next step.
So in that case, you'd say you do the same inspection for all wheels on the trailer?
So one inspection for all wheels, basically.
Right, right, exactly. You're only doing this wheel, that's it. Just like a tractor, you do that front, that's it. You're just doing this wheel. My mud flap hanger is probably mounted and secured, and the crack dampers are loose. I should have 100% DOT tape. My mud flap is probably mounted and secured, not worn, torn, or frayed, and it's at the right height from the ground. Once you do this, right there is your next stop for this trailer. All right? Mr. Examiner, my tie back hook is probably mounted and secured, and that crack dampers are loose, and it's not missing. From here, you're almost done. Right to your ABS light. My ABS light is probably mounted and secured. Now crack dampers are loose. It's the proper color amber, and it's not on. All right? See this marker light here? When you see that marker light there, there's nothing up top for these trailers. All right? So you ain't even got to bother looking. My marker light is probably mounted and secured. Now crack dampers are loose, and it's the proper color red. From there, right to the back of the trailer. All right. So with this trailer, You got 2 doors. We'll do a roll-up door over there just in case you get that busted ass up trailer. We'll do that over there. All right. All right. First thing you're gonna do, top to bottom. Picture A. Same setup. Just examine my marker lights up there are probably mounted or secured. They're cracked down with loose with the proper color red. My 4 lights back here, which are my brake lights, running lights, 4-way indicators, signals, are probably mounted and secured, not cracked down with loose to the proper color red. Just examine it. The inside side light, the inside lights are my brake lights. All right? Despite what you might hear, this is about as heavy as you're going to get with the door. This examiner, my door is probably in the locked position. The integrity of my doors are probably mounted and secured, not cracked down with loose. There are no holes. My hinges are all probably mounted and secured, not cracked down with loose, and not missing. The weather seal, weather stripping, whatever you want to call it, is probably mounted and secured, not worn, torn, or frayed, and it's not missing. Remember the tie back hook? Just examine it. My tie back chain or your tie back hook again, it's probably mounted and secured, not cracked down with loose, and it's not missing. My DOT bumper is probably mounted and secured, not cracked down with loose. I should have 100% DOT tape on my DOT bumper.
Proper color, red and white.
Red and white, you can say red and white. That's A, B, and C.
Wow.
Let's go over and do couple on couple.